Hello, welcome in this talk, Manage Your Own Domain Name with Odoo. My name is Thomas Dovelstein. I'm a functional consultant at Odoo, and today we are going to talk about domain name and website. Don't forget that there will be a Q&A session at the end of this presentation, so feel free to ask your question in the chatter during this talk, and I will answer at the end of the presentation. Okay, so in this talk, we are going to talk about website and domain name. We will answer a few questions about domain name, and I will show you how you can practically register your domain name with Odoo, and also why you should use your own domain name. So this talk mainly concerns the website module, but keep in mind that you can also use a custom domain name, even if you don't use the website module, because basically an Odoo database is a website. So the first question is what exactly is a domain name and how does it work? So to answer this first question, I need to tell you about the domain name system, also called the DNS. So anything connected to the internet, such as a printer, a website, a smartphone, anything, has its own IP address. So this IP address is made up of numbers, but it's not easy to remember for us humans. So instead, we use what we call the domain name. So the domain name can be seen as a translation of the IP address. So we associate a domain name with an IP address. So as an example, the IP address of odoo.com is 178.33.40.43. It's really not easy to remember. It doesn't mean anything, so we don't use that. Instead, we use odoo.com, which has a lot of meaning. So you can see the domain name as a unique resource, as a unique name that identifies resources on the internet, but basically it's the name of your website. A domain name needs to be registered before you can use it, and it also needs to be, it is also unique, so two websites cannot share the same domain name. So the next question is how to register your own domain name with Odoo, and actually what do we offer to do that. So until now, we offered basic subdomain of odoo.com, which was constructed as follows. So it was your database name .odoo.com. But if you wanted to use a custom domain name, you still had to register and manage it on the side. From now on, we decided to offer a free registration of a custom domain name with every valid subscription. So if you have an Odoo website, you can purchase, you can register your own domain name on odoo.com. But we also decided that you can keep the subdomain, the generic subdomain that we offer with odoo.com. So you can choose between this subdomain or a custom domain name. So what actually are the benefits of a custom domain name? And there are plenty. So in this talk, I'm going to talk about 5 benefits of using a custom domain name versus a generic subdomain. So the first reason is SEO, and SEO stands for search engine optimization. It's actually how well you rank on a search engine result page, such as Google. And if you have got a free domain name, it's going to be possible to rank high, but it's also going to be more difficult. So if you use your own custom domain name, it's going to be unique, it's going to be yours, and you probably have better probability to rank high on a search engine result page. The next reason is credibility. So again, you can use a free subdomain name of odoo.com, but if you want to show credibility to your potential customers and your audience, you need to have your own custom domain name. It's really important. The website will look more professional, and yeah, your company will have more credibility to your audience. The next reason is branding. So again, if you're using a free subdomain, you have got another company brand in your domain name, which is not ideal in terms of branding. So you want to be alone, you want to have your own space. So that's why using a custom domain name will improve your brand awareness, but also brand visibility on the internet. The next reason is to improve the traffic. So if you use if you use a free subdomain, you don't really have the choice of what this domain look like. But if you use your custom domain name, you can choose it to be easy to remember and easy to spell, so people can easily share it and come back to your website. Will finally improve the traffic on your website. The next reason is to create as many professional email addresses as you want. So if you have a generic subdomain, you will not be able to have your own professional email address because you will have another brand in your email address. But if you have a custom domain name, you will be able to generate as many email address as you want. So the next question is actually how to choose a good domain name. So there is two possibilities. So the first one is you already have a brand name, you already have your company, and in this case you probably want your domain name to be the same as your brand name in order to not confuse any visitors. But if you're starting a new project and starting a new brand, for instance, you have the possibility to choose a new domain name. And this domain name needs to be easy to remember and easy to spell. It has to be short. It has to be short enough because you want people to be able to remember that. And less than 10 characters is usually a good rule of thumb. And finally, you need to choose the right extension for that domain name. The extension is the part of the domain that comes at the end. It's the .com, the .org, .net, and it's used to show the intention of the website. So, for instance, a .com usually is usually a commercial website, and a .org is usually a non-profit organization. So you need to choose this extension according to your company's objective. Okay, so the main question of this talk is actually how to register a domain name with Odoo. And that's what I'm going to demonstrate now. So as you can see here on the screen, you now have the possibility to register your own domain name and manage your domain names directly from your Odoo.com customer interface. So I will switch to one of my database. Okay, and you can see here, I'm on my customer portal. Under my name, you can see I have access to my domains. And from here, I can decide to register a new domain. So let's just try to register a new domain. Let's just call it a new domain, for instance. This is actually a really bad name for a domain, but it's just an example. So let's just check the availability. Okay, here it says the top level domain is required. So I actually need to add the extension of that domain. So let's just select the .com. Okay, so actually this domain name is available, so you can register it if it's available. Let's just register. So here you see you have the registration form. You need to enter all your information, but you also need to select the subscription for which you want to register that domain name. So you can see here, I have my subscription displayed here, and I can select this one. Okay, so I'm not going to do the form because I have already registered another domain just before this presentation. So I will actually do the configuration for this domain that I have registered. So I registered the oxp/domain.com, and I want to use this domain on this website. So this is my database, OXP Talk, and I actually want to use that domain instead of the oxptalk.odoo.com. The first thing to do is to actually come here in the database manager and add your domain name in the domain available for that database. You can see the oxp./domain.com. So I will add it. Okay, so this domain has been added to my database. I can confirm. So the next thing is to come back to the configuration of your domain name and configure the DNS settings. So in the DNS, you have a lot of records, but you actually want to create a new CNAME record. The CNAME record, it has to be, you can add, So you want this domain, so for people coming to this domain, so the www.oxpdomain.com, you want those people to be redirected to your, you want people to be redirected to the database. So I will just come here and take the domain of the database. Okay. Okay, you can see I need to remove the prefix, and I have to not forget to add a dot at the end, and I can add the record. Okay, I've just configured my CNAME record, which is in order to redirect the traffic coming to my domain to my Odoo database. But there is still one more thing to do. It's actually to create the web forwarding. So for people coming to your domain, they can either type in directly your domain, or they can also type in the www.yourdomain.com. So you want both type of traffic to be redirected to your Odoo database. So here I'm going to create a redirection for the naked domain, so the domain without the www. So just create a redirection. Okay, so you want all people accessing this domain to actually be redirected to the HTTP to www.oxp/domain.com. Okay, you can create that redirection. Okay, so here everything is configured, and I can go on my database and test if the domain is already available. So I might not be able to show that right now because it can take a few minutes for the servers to update the domain name, but hopefully it would work. So my domain was oxp/domain.com. Like I said, yeah, just like I said, it can take a few minutes to be active. So I will probably not be able to show that in this presentation, but I can assure you that it works. Okay, so that's how you configure your own domain name with Odoo. Okay, just come back to the presentation. Okay, let's just have a quick talk summary. So if you only have a few key points to take from this presentation, it would be the following. The domain name is actually the name of your website. The reason to use a custom domain name instead of a generic subdomain is to improve the SEO, the credibility, the branding, the traffic, and the email address. A good domain has to be short, it has to be easy to spell and easy to remember. It also has to have a relevant extension. And finally, the big news is a free registration of a custom domain with every Odoo subscription. All right, thank you very much for listening to this talk. I hope you enjoyed it, and let's do the Q&A session. Thank you.
Hello guys, so thanks Thomas for this talk.
Yes.
I am Philippe, I am a functional consultant at Odoo of course, and I'm joined with Thomas, who is expert inside our consulting team for website in commerce. And so yeah, here we are to answer your different questions. Thank you for all of them. So the first question I get is from Aziz. Is Odoo any charge for custom domain registration?
Yeah, okay, so the main new features that we introduced with the domain, so is that we offer a free registration of a custom domain name with every valid subscription. So as long as you have a valid Odoo subscription, you will be able to register for free, so free of charge, it's offered by Odoo, your own custom domain. Yeah, so I hope it answers the question.
So here I have a question from Peter. Instead of having your domain name registered by Odoo, is the redirecting of the IP address in the name server also an option?
Yeah. Okay. So actually, the question is, if I can rephrase the question, is it possible to create the CNAME and the redirection for a domain name that hasn't been that hasn't been registered by Odoo? So the question, the answer to this question is, for the moment, no, it's not possible. So you will only be able to manage the DNS of a domain name that you have bought, that you have registered with Odoo. For the moment, so for the release of these features, but in the upcoming months, you will be able to transfer your domain name that you have bought on an external platform in Odoo, and you will be able to manage the DNS configuration for those domain name also in Odoo.
Okay, so many questions are plugging here. In those domain modification in the dashboard of OVH, what is the difference of doing it in the
Okay. So
in the dashboard?
Yeah. Okay. So it's almost the same question as the other one. So it's pretty much the same thing. You can do it either on Odoo or on OVH or any other service provider. It's actually the same thing. So it's the same DNS configuration. So it's not a better way. So you can do it on both.
Okay. Is Odoo acting will affect the SEO if you will affect the database?
Yeah. So as far as I know, using a CNAME for a new domain name doesn't affect the SEO. So yeah, you should not have any issue about SEO if you use your own custom domain name.
Okay. Is it available in Odoo CE?
Odoo CE.
Community edition.
Okay, yeah, okay. Odoo Community Edition. That's a good question.
Yeah, I don't know.
But I don't think so,
No.
because you need to have a subscription for that. So the community edition is open source, so you don't have any subscription. So I would say no.
Okay. In a multi-company environment, can you set up different domain for each company?
Yeah. Okay. So the thing is, of course, if you're in a multi-company environment, you probably have multi-website as well. So you need to have multiple domain name to redirect between your different websites. So the thing is, for the moment, you can only register one domain name for one subscription. So a multi-company, it's one database with multi-company inside. So you only have one subscription for that. As it is now, you will not be able to register multiple domain for multi-website settings. In this case, so we have a workaround. What you can do is use a subdomain of the domain you registered in order to redirect between the website. So for instance, you just bought a domain. Let's say you bought domain.com. You could have a B2B website and a B2C website. And you could use a subdomain of the domain.com for the B2B website and a subdomain of domain.com for the B2C. So it would be b2c.domain.com and b2b.domain.com in order to make the distinction between two.
Okay, next question. Can we move the domain registered on GoDaddy to Odoo?
Yes, I think I already answered that, but yes, for the moment it's not possible. You cannot version of this feature. So not for the release, but it's coming.
Okay, what is the cost if you want to have more than one domain?
Yeah, so from the moment, so for the initial release, you will only be able to register one domain name per subscription.
Sorry, I will try to speak closer to my microphone.
Yeah, just can you show me the last question?
Yes.
Yeah. So okay. So the cost actually. So yeah, I said for the moment you can only buy one domain name, but we will probably add the possibility to buy more domain name in the next version.
Okay. Any T and C for free custom domain?
Any T?
What do you mean by T?
Yeah.
And C?
What do you mean by T and C? I don't understand the question.
Okay, I prepared some other question. I got one about do you own the domain if you buy it?
Yeah. So yeah. Okay. So actually, if you register a domain name by Odoo, you own this domain. So you are the owner of the domain, and actually, you will receive an email after you register the domain name on the platform on odoo.com. You receive an email to confirm that you have registered that domain, and you become the owner of the domain. So also another thing to say about that, if for instance your Odoo subscription is not valid anymore, you will not lose the domain. So your database will not be accessible until you clear your subscription. But the domain name will still be yours if your database is unavailable anymore. So we will keep it for 90 days, and yeah, you will be able to regulate your subscription for 90 days in order to receive the domain name back.
Okay, so T&C is for terms and condition. You just a bit explain about it, but if you have any other information, I think it can.
Yeah, I can probably do a quick summary of the offer. So for every valid subscription, we offer the registration of a custom domain name for free. So it's offer.
And it can be .com, .org,
yeah, exactly. So it can be any extension that you want. We don't have. It's not. Yeah, you can choose your extension. And yeah, and you are the owner of that domain.
Okay. What if I register a domain for an existing database? Like for people coming from version 13?
Yeah. Yeah, so this feature is actually not dependent on the version of the database that you are using. It's dependent on the Odoo platform, the customer platform. So yeah, you can register a domain for an existing database, and yeah, you can you can register a domain for any version of Odoo.
Okay, I think you already answered this one, but can I register multiple domain with Odoo?
Yeah, for the moment, no. It's something that this feature will be improved and probably released later on.
Okay. Is it possible to migrate from an external provider to Odoo? You already answered, but maybe for George you can answer that again.
Yeah. So yeah, you will be able to move from an external provider to Odoo if you want to manage your DNS directly in Odoo. But for the moment, it's not going to be possible at the release of this feature. But you will be able to do that pretty soon.
Okay. What will happen if your subscription is ended? Can I keep this domain?
Yeah. So that's what I explained. So if your subscription is ended for any reason, or even if you decide to stop your subscription with Odoo, something I hope you will not do, you are the owner of the domain name, so you will be able to take out the domain from Odoo. So you are not bound with Odoo. So the domain is not bound with your database. So you can leave Odoo with your domain name that you have registered.
Okay. Which app can I use to manage this domain?
Which app can you use to manage the domain?
I guess, yeah, you need of course Odoo websites. So
yeah,
but on the other side.
Yeah, the thing is that basically your Odoo database is a website of its own. So you access it through a URL, through a domain name, which is a subdomain of odoo.com. It's the name of your database .odoo.com. So actually, to use that feature, to register your own domain name, you don't even need to have a website because you can use a custom domain name on an existing Odoo database. But yeah, usually if you have your own website, you want to have your custom domain.
All right. Can I move from MS Dynamics to the Great Plain? I don't know, Thomas, if you know.
MS Dynamics Great Plain. I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with that. Can you give us a little bit more information?
Can give us a bit more information.
Yeah.
The website app does allow us to create multi-websites, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so you can create as many websites as you want for the same database. So all the website, if you have e-commerce website, all those websites will be integrated with the database that you have. And even if you have a multi-company, if you have multi-company in this database, you will be able to link a specific website to a specific company.
Yeah, guys, as I mentioned at the beginning, Thomas is also is expert in websites. So if you have any question related to domain, but also to website or e-commerce, please feel free. We are there for you, so don't hesitate. In which country will the domain will be registered?
That's a good question. I actually don't know this one. But
we are using a domain provider.
Yeah. So yeah, we're working with Gandhi. So Gandhi is the service provider that we work with. But I don't know actually in which country the domain is registered.
Yeah, I guess that as other provider, the domain is split in many countries with DNS and so on.
Yeah, but, certainly. But
you can have a look on Gandhi website maybe to get this answer. Only 30 seconds left. So,
so we have a time for one or two questions.
Yes, but guys, if there is some other question, we will open a product room just after the talk. So please join us if you have any other question, because we're running out of time. But I will do one more. Is domain come with voice privacy and SSL certificates? Yeah.
I haven't talked about SSL, but the SSLs are offered, generates automatically when you link your domain name in Odoo. So it's included in the offer.
Okay, let's take a last one. No, I think I'm running
we're out of time.
So please join us in the room. Thanks for your attention, guys, and see you in the product room.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.